3 months ago, they laughed at him, a poor black janitor, mopping floors in a torn uniform, while the world stepped over him like he didn't exist. But today, a private jet just landed, and the man stepping out is the same janitor they mocked. Phones drop, mouths open, people freeze like statues. Because nobody expected Harry Mark to return as a billionaire. This isn't a comeback. This is a resurrection. And when Harry removes his sunglasses and says, "Remember me?" the entire business park falls silent. Would you apologize if you mock someone who became a billionaire? Comment yes or no. Share this if you believe in underdogs. And subscribe because this story gets wilder from here. Maxwell Business Park always woke up before the sun, before the sky turned blue, before the executives opened their eyes, before the expensive cars painted the parking lot in metallic colors, and before anyone in that glass kingdom even thought about success. Harry Mark was already there. He pushed his old cleaning cart across the quiet pavement, the wheels squeaking with every step like they, too, were tired of life. His faded janitor uniform clung to his body, wrinkled from drying overnight on a chair, because his apartment didn't have electricity again. The air was cold, his fingers numb. But Harry kept walking. Inside Maxwell Business Park, everything glowed. Shiny marble floors, tall glass walls reflecting the morning light, the satisfying clack, clack, clack of designer shoes approaching, expensive perfumes filling the air like clouds of invisible superiority. Harry stepped into the lobby quietly, his cart wobbling. He always tried not to make noise, not because he feared trouble, but because he knew noise reminded people he existed. And here, existence was a crime. As employees rushed in, the building transformed. Phones rang. Elevators chimed. Workers speed-walked like their salaries depended on their footsteps. Harry kept his head down, gripping his mop tighter. He had learned long ago that eye contact was an invitation for mockery, laughter, comments, or cruel jokes disguised as office humor. But that morning, someone decided to start early. 3 interns, young, loud, and hungry for validation, noticed him from across the lobby. "Bro, his shoes are talking," one said loudly, pointing at Harry's worn-out sneakers that were splitting at the seams. The girl beside him giggled. "Forget the shoes. Look at that uniform. He looks like a museum exhibit." The last one, recording him on his phone, added, "Imagine being that broke at his age." They laughed together, a chorus of privileged amusement. Harry felt the heat rise in his chest. Not anger, not shame, but something deeper, something he hid beneath years of quiet endurance. Pain. He kept his face down and continued mopping, but his hands trembled slightly. People passed him like he was a piece of furniture, a potted plant, something to avoid stepping on. Then the voice that made his stomach tighten echoed across the lobby. "Harry." Mr. Dalton, the senior manager, tall, expensive suit, slick back hair, and a smirk that suggested he enjoyed stepping on people like Harry. Harry straightened up instinctively. "Yes, sir." Dalton stood with his arms folded, looking at Harry the way one might look at a stain on the floor. "I need this entire marble lobby spotless before the board arrives," he barked. Then he leaned forward. "And try not to embarrass yourself this time." A few executives nearby chuckled. Someone whispered, "He should be thankful he even has a job." Another muttered, "Maybe one day he'll mop his way into success." Harry swallowed hard. He didn't say a word. He never talked back. Talking back got you fired. Talking back got you labeled. Talking back made you replaceable. And Harry was unreplaceable to the only person that mattered, his sick younger sister, waiting for him after every shift. So he lowered his eyes again and resumed cleaning. But the worst stung next. He heard the interns behind him start filming. "Harry, look over here," one called sarcastically. "We're making a TikTok. I'll title it, 'Janitor Still Chasing Millionaire Dreams.'" More laughter, more cruelty, more humiliation. Harry kept wiping the floor, but inside, a storm churned. Every insult, every joke, every time someone walked past him like he was air, he stored it, not as hate, not as bitterness, but as fuel. When the lobby finally emptied out, Harry stood alone on the marble floor, his reflection on the polished surface looking back at him. A man with tired eyes. A man who deserved more. A man who had a dream bigger than the building he worked in. He closed his eyes. One day, the whisper escaped his lips. Barely audible, barely real, but powerful. One day they'll see. But the morning had already broken him more than usual. As soon as the hallway was clear, Harry slipped into the staff break room, a cramped, dim space tucked behind the lobby. He sat on the old metal chair, the plastic seat cracked under him. He placed his lunchbox on the table, a piece of leftover bread and some cold stew in a plastic container. He wasn't hungry, not after everything. His body slumped. His shoulders shook. He brought his hands to his face and let the tears fall. Not loud, not desperate, just quiet tears of a man carrying too much. Crying was a luxury. But today, the weight was too much. He wasn't crying because of the insults. He wasn't crying because of the laughter. He wasn't even crying because of Dalton's cruelty. He cried because he knew something they didn't. He wasn't supposed to be here. He wasn't supposed to be mopping floors for people who had half his intelligence. He wasn't supposed to be invisible when he had built something that could change lives. He wasn't supposed to be stepping aside for men who hadn't sweated a day in their lives. He was meant for more, much more. But life hadn't given him a chance. After a long silence, Harry wiped his eyes, straightened up, and forced himself to breathe normally. On the wall in front of him was a poster no one ever cared about, a cheap office decoration, sun-faded, corners peeling. But today, the words hit him like lightning. Success begins in the mind. Harry stared at it for a long time. Something inside him shifted, very slightly, like a flame trying to rise again. His breathing slowed. His eyes hardened. The humiliation didn't break him. It sharpened him. He stood up slowly, grabbed his mop, and walked out of the break room, not as a defeated man, but as a man quietly preparing for war. And no one knew that this was the day everything changed. Harry stepped back into the lobby, eyes still red but blazing with something new. The motivational poster echoed in his mind. Success begins in the mind. His lips tightened, his jaw set, his spirit awakened. This was the birth of the billionaire he would soon become. Type where you're watching from, your country and time. Let's connect before the story gets deeper. Harry Mark's apartment didn't look like the home of a future billionaire. It looked like a place built from survival. The walls were pale and cracked, paint peeling like old scabs. A single flickering bulb hung from the ceiling, buzzing dim as if even it was tired. The furniture was mismatched and worn, donated by neighbors or collected from sidewalks. But the heart of the apartment, the true engine of Harry Mark's destiny, sat on a small metal table in the corner. An old laptop, thick, scratched, slow, but powerful in the hands of the right mind. And Harry had the mind. When he got home that night, after wiping the last tear from his face, Harry didn't sleep. He rarely slept before 3 a.m. He placed his cleaning cart beside the door, slipped off his beaten shoes, and sat in front of the laptop, like a warrior returning to his sword. He cracked his knuckles, took a deep breath, and opened a program he had been building for 6 straight years. A complex predictive logistics system, real-time data mapping, automated supply chain rerouting, loss reduction algorithms, adaptive forecasting systems. Technology that companies paid millions for, except his version was smarter, leaner, faster, and entirely self-built. Every night after mopping floors, Harry built empires. No one knew. No one even imagined a janitor could code, let alone architect software that rivaled Fortune 100 systems. But Harry had something rare: silence, isolation, and a hunger so deep it pushed him past exhaustion. The cursor blinked at the top of his screen. Waiting, Harry leaned in, and the world around him disappeared. As he typed, his mind drifted back to the man who first taught him discipline, his father. He saw him again, sitting at the kitchen table of their old house, long before life became cruel. His father wore a thick wool sweater and smelled of engine oil. Every night after work, He sat with Harry and did something no one else ever did. He believed in him. You see these numbers? His father tapped lightly on a page of his old math workbook. They don't lie. They tell stories if you listen. Harry was just 10. Confused, tired, but eager. What stories, Dad? He asked. His father smiled. A soft smile Harry had never seen on anyone else before or after. Stories about discipline, he said. Stories about building. Stories about how the world can change if you understand the patterns beneath it. Harry didn't understand back then, but he listened. Every night he listened. His father taught him to break problems apart, to look beneath the surface, to use his mind even when the world tried to cage him. Then his father got sick. Hospital visits became the new routine. Bills piled up. Harry left school early to work. His dreams were pushed aside, but the lessons stayed, the discipline stayed, and the gift stayed. Harry snapped back from a memory as a new line of code flashed perfect green. Success. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. His hands trembled from exhaustion, not fear. He had worked all day mopping floors, 12 hours, and now another 8 hours sat ahead of him. But he didn't stop, because someone depended on him. From the bedroom, he heard soft coughing. His younger sister, Melody, slept inside. She was only 9, diagnosed with a rare condition. Her medication cost more than Harry's entire monthly salary. Everything he did, every mop stroke, every code line, every dream he kept buried, was for her, Melody. He couldn't fail, not when her life sat on a clock. He looked at her photo beside the laptop. "I'm trying," he whispered. "I swear I'm trying." As midnight approached, Harry opened his sent emails folder. There they were, hundreds of unread messages. Tech startups, logistics firms, AI companies, freight giants, investment groups. He had written to them all, year after year. Subject lines like, revolutionary supply chain software, prototype demo included, new predictive mapping algorithm for corporate use, system capable of reducing losses by 38%, real data attached. But the replies, when they came, were always the same. Weeks of silence. Then one-day responses from assistants or automated systems. We are not accepting unsolicited proposals. This does not fit our strategic direction. We don't engage with non-professional developers. And the most painful one, we do not review pitches from janitorial staff, as if his job defined his intelligence, as if the mop in his hand made his brain worthless, as if dreams had job descriptions. He clicked through the emails again, breath tightening. They didn't see him. They never did. They didn't see the genius, the discipline, the creation, the potential. They only saw the man mopping their floors. Harry pressed his palms against his eyes, holding back another wave of frustration. He had poured 6 years into this project, but he refused to give up. He couldn't. He took a long inhale, wiped his face, and began coding again. The night deepened. 2:07 a.m. The bulb flickered again. Harry kept typing. Sweat ran down his cheek. His back hurt. His eyes stung. But the system responded beautifully to his new updates. A new algorithm line. A new prediction model. A new logic gate. He paused and whispered, "This is it. It's finally starting to take shape." Every keystroke became a rebellion. Every calculation became a weapon. Every finished page became one more brick in the empire he was building secretly in the shadows. Outside, the city slept. Inside, Harry was becoming the man the world would fear one day. At exactly 2:49 a.m., as he prepared to run another simulation, a soft notification dinged from the corner of the screen. Harry froze. Emails never came this late. Not for him. Not ever. His heart pounded as he clicked the inbox. A single new message sat there. Subject: Your message has been opened. Harry's breathing stopped. He stared at the screen. Someone, after 6 years, after hundreds of rejections, after endless nights, had finally opened his pitch. The name beside the notification was one he recognized but didn't dare believe. Michael Trent, founder and CEO of Trent Global Logistics. One of the biggest names in the industry. A billionaire, a legend, Harry's pulse surged. His hands shook. Was it real? A glitch? A trick? A mistake? Then the next line appeared beneath the notification. Typing. Harry's entire life paused. His throat tightened. His vision blurred. His heart hammered like a drum. This moment, this exact second, would change everything forever. Harry leaned closer to the screen, barely breathing. The typing indicator flashed again, and then Michael Trent's reply began to appear. Harry, is this your creation? The world stood still. If you've ever had a dream nobody believed in, comment, I feel this. The night air outside Maxwell Business Park was quiet. Too quiet. Most employees had already driven home, their luxury cars rolling past Harry without a glance. The parking lot lights hummed softly, casting long shadows across the pavement. Harry, exhausted after another 14-hour shift, pushed his cleaning cart toward the back entrance to clock out. His shoulders felt heavy. His eyes were burning. His heart was still racing from the email he received at 2:49 a.m., the one from Michael Trent. But he didn't dare hope too much. People like him didn't get lucky. Not in this world. Harry exhaled and stepped outside, craving fresh air. Then he saw him. Across the parking lot, beside a sleek black sedan, stood a man in an expensive suit, sleeves rolled up, tie hanging loosely, hair out of place. He was kicking the tire in frustration. A flat tire. Harry slowed, watching the scene unfold. The man looked tired. Not rich tired. Not, I had a long lunch meeting, tired. He looked human tired. Defeated. Stressed. Harry recognized that kind of exhaustion. Without thinking twice, he stepped forward. Excuse me, Harry said, voice gentle. Do you need help? The man looked up. He expected to see mockery, probably from another executive or intern. Instead, he saw Harry. Faded blue janitor uniform, cleaning gloves hanging from his pocket, tired eyes, but warm. The man blinked. You know how to change a tire? He asked, surprised. Harry gave a humble smile. I grew up fixing things. Cars included. The man stepped aside, almost relieved. Please be my guest. Harry crouched beside the car, examining the tire. He didn't hesitate. He didn't brag. He didn't preach. He simply got to work. Quick hands. Precise movements. Total focus. The man watched, impressed by the quiet confidence of the janitor kneeling beside his luxury car. Rough day? Harry asked without looking up. Weak, the man muttered. Actually, Harry chuckled softly. I know the feeling. When the tire was finally secured, the man exhaled deeply, rubbing his face. That was fast. Thank you. Harry stood, wiping his hands on his uniform. No problem, sir. The man extended his hand. I'm Michael Trent. Harry froze. The name, the voice, the presence. And then it clicked. The Michael Trent, CEO of Trent Global Logistics. One of the biggest players in the supply chain world. Worth several billions. Known for being brutally smart and impossible to reach. Harry swallowed hard and shook his hand. I'm Harry. Harry Mark. Michael nodded politely. Harry, you saved me tonight. I owe you. A billionaire saying that to him? It felt unreal. Just doing what I can, Harry said, trying to play it cool. But Michael was still watching him, closely, with curiosity, with respect, with something Harry almost never got. Interest. Michael leaned against the car and sighed. You know, the funny thing is, I had a meeting today that might decide the future of my entire company. And I walked out feeling like everything was falling apart. Harry nodded, listening carefully. What happened? Michael gave a frustrated laugh. I told a room full of executives that our company's supply chain forecasting system needed to evolve, that we're losing money to outdated algorithms, that we're behind. He shook his head. They dismissed me. They acted like I didn't know my own company. Harry's eyes widened. Predictive mapping, supply chain forecasting. This was his world. Quietly, timidly, he spoke. If I may, forecasting is failing everywhere. Traditional mapping can't keep up with real-time disruptions. You'd need adaptive learning systems. and dynamic rerouting paths. And Michael stood up straight, shocked. Wait. He raised his hand. What did you just say? Harry froze. He felt panic rising. I am sorry. I didn't mean to. No, Michael said firmly. Say it again. Harry hesitated, then spoke more clearly. You need a system that predicts logistical failures before they happen. Something that adapts as data changes. Something that thinks. Michael stared at him like he wasn't human. Harry, where did you learn that? Harry swallowed. He had two choices. Stay silent. Stay invisible. Or take the biggest risk of his life. His palms were sweating. His heartbeat thundered. But he did it anyway. I built something, he said quietly. A system like the one you just described. Michael blinked. You built what? Harry's throat tightened. A predictive logistics software. Real-time mapping. 6 years of work. Michael's eyebrows rose. You built that alone? Harry nodded. Michael stared at him like he was staring at a ghost. Harry, he said slowly, I've seen million-dollar prototypes that can't solve half of what you just described. Harry looked down at his uniform. The badge. The stains. The mop water on his shoes. Sir, Harry whispered, I know how I look. I know what people see. But if you just give me 10 minutes, just 10, I can show you something real. Michael folded his arms. 10 minutes? Harry nodded. Michael stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to see past the uniform, past the labels, past the world's judgment. Then he said something that would rewrite Harry's entire destiny. Lead the way. They drove in silence. Harry was shaking in the passenger seat, not from fear, but from the magnitude of the moment. A billionaire was following him home, to his tiny apartment, with peeling paint, with flickering lights, with an old laptop as the centerpiece. When they arrived, Harry rushed ahead, embarrassed. Please ignore the mess, sir. It's all I... But Michael interrupted. I didn't come for your apartment. He pointed at the laptop. I came for that. Harry sat down and opened the system. As the screen lit up, the room seemed to change. The dim walls disappeared. The broken furniture vanished. All that existed was the brilliance glowing from the code he built. Michael leaned in, and within seconds his expression shifted. From curiosity to awe to disbelief. Real-time maps. Adaptive data flows. Predictive failure points. Cost-saving reroute paths. Simulation engines. Michael didn't blink. Harry, he swallowed hard. This is $1 billion system. Harry's hands trembled over the keyboard. I just wanted to help companies save money. And maybe save my sister too. Michael turned to him slowly. You didn't build software. He whispered, you built the future. Harry felt tears sting his eyes. All the nights, all the failures, all the humiliation, all the years no one believed him. And now here he was, sitting beside a billionaire who finally saw the truth. Michael leaned forward, voice low, stunned. Harry, you built $1 billion system. Everything in Harry's life changed in that single breath. Comment, believe, if you think this is Harry's breakthrough moment. For the first time in his adult life, Harry Mark sat at his own kitchen table, and the world finally came knocking. Not politely, not hesitantly, not cautiously. It came bursting through the door. It started with Michael Trent pacing Harry's cramped apartment, his phone pressed his ear, speaking with the force and urgency of a man who just discovered fire. Wake up the legal team, Michael barked. I don't care what time it is. Get everyone online. We're starting something tonight. Harry sat there frozen. Tonight? Now. He stared at the peeling paint on his walls, the worn-out curtains, the broken microwave, the single bulb flickering above. And across from him stood a billionaire activating an empire inside a janitor's apartment. Harry couldn't breathe. He watched Michael walk back and forth, giving instructions with razor precision. Names flew through the air. Attorneys, patent specialists, finance experts, contract negotiators. It was like watching a general deploy an army. And every order, every command, every move was for him. Harry Mark, the janitor, the man they laughed at, the man they stepped over, the man whose shoes were talking. Now the world was listening. Within 20 minutes, Harry's laptop dinged with notifications, Zoom links, contract drafts, partnership outlines, IP protection files, licensing forms, NDAs, all flooding into his inbox like a tidal wave. Michael sat across from him, sleeves rolled up, hair messy, eyes sharp. "All right, Harry," he said. "Let's build an empire." Harry's throat tightened. This is real? Michael leaned forward, firm and calm. "Harry, this is bigger than Real. This is history." Harry looked at the documents. He didn't understand half of them. He wasn't trained for this. He was trained to clean floors, not sign multi-million-dollar contracts. He wiped tears quietly. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I can't believe this is happening." Michael softened. "Harry," he said gently, "do you know why no one believed you?" Harry didn't answer. He knew why. His uniform, his background, his poverty. Michael leaned closer. "Because the world didn't reject your idea." He paused. His voice lowered. His words became legendary. "It rejected your uniform." Harry's chest tightened. His vision blurred. No one had ever said something so painfully true and yet so freeing. Michael continued, "But I'm not investing in your clothes. I'm investing in your mind." Those words shattered Harry's emotional walls. He couldn't hold the tears anymore. The Zoom meeting began. 4 lawyers joined, a patent expert, a CFO, a technical analyst. And then the tone changed. They didn't speak to Harry like a janitor, or a cleaner, or the lowest-ranked worker in the building. They spoke to him like a man worth taking seriously, a visionary, a CTO, a founder, a genius. Michael guided him through every clause. "Your ownership stays at 51%. This ensures you remain majority shareholder. We'll form Mark Intelligence Systems, LLC, as a new division. We'll protect your IP globally." Harry nodded, even though he barely understood. But he understood one thing. His life was changing, and it wasn't stopping. When Michael stepped out to take a call, Harry grabbed his phone with trembling hands. He opened his banking app. He had $43.87 left. His sister's hospital bill was overdue. Medication was running out. He sent her the message he never thought he'd ever type. "Send me the bill. I'll handle everything." His sister replied instantly, "Harry, we don't have time. The doctor said we must start treatment now." Harry looked over his shoulder. Michael was still on the phone. This was his chance. He stepped quietly to the table, opened his email, and typed, "Mr. Trent, before anything else, I need help with my sister." He hovered over the send button, pausing, fearing, feeling small again. Then he clicked. When Michael returned 5 minutes later, he didn't sit down. He put a hand on Harry's shoulder. "It's done." "What's done?" Harry asked. "I've sent funds for her treatment. Already processed." Harry covered his mouth, shaking. "Sir, I can't." "You don't owe me anything," Michael interrupted. "You're about to change the world. Saving your family is the easiest part of this journey." For the first time tonight, Harry broke completely. Not from pain, not from exhaustion, but from relief. Real, overwhelming relief. Around 3:14 a.m., another notification hit Harry's screen. A tech journalist. "Is it true an unknown developer has created revolutionary predictive AI?" Another email. "Mr. Mark, we heard rumors of a partnership with Trent Global." Another. "We would love to interview the mysterious genius." Harry blinked. Mysterious genius? That was him? The janitor? The man who ate cold rice in a break room while interns laughed? This felt surreal. Michael checked one of the messages and smirked. "Get ready, Harry. The world is waking up." Minutes later, Harry's phone buzzed again. He thought it was a spam notification, a reminder, or maybe another overdue bill. But when he unlocked the phone, the room spun. His heart dropped. He almost fell out of his chair. On his screen was one message. Bank alert. $1 million deposited. Michael looked up when he heard Harry gasp. "That's your signing bonus," he said calmly. "You earned it." Harry couldn't breathe. $1 million in his account. He stared at the screen like it was a hallucination. All those years of humiliation, all those nights coding alone, all the rejection, and here he was, a millionaire, in one night, and this was just the beginning. Harry stared at the glowing screen, hands shaking, vision blurry with tears. $1 million deposited, but he had no idea. The next deposit would make him a billionaire. If you love stories where the underdog rises, drop a like right now. For the first time in his life, Harry Mark wasn't walking into Maxwell Business Park with a mop. He wasn't dragging a cleaning cart. He wasn't wearing a faded blue janitor uniform that smelled of bleach and exhaustion. He walked into the world he used clean as a man the world could no longer ignore. 2 days after signing the contracts, Harry stepped into Trent Global Headquarters. The same building where security guards once snickered at him now stood at attention. "Good morning, Mr. Mark." "Welcome, sir." "Right this way, sir." "Sir." Harry looked around, stunned. Polished marble floors. LED wall screens showing global markets. High ceilings, glass architecture. The hum of giants doing business. He used to clean floors like these. Now he was walking through them like a man with destiny in his veins. And every step felt unreal. Michael led him to a private boardroom. 12 executives seated, silently waiting. A billionaire walked in. A janitor followed. Only one of them had the future in their hands. Michael spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the man behind the most powerful predictive logistics system ever built." Executives turned. Stares. Blinking. Whispers under their breath. "Him? A janitor? Impossible." Michael continued. "World, meet Harry Mark, founder and CEO of Mark Intelligence Systems, LLC, 51% owner, majority shareholder, and soon a global force." Harry's heart pounded. CO, his name next to it, his company. A lifetime of humiliation, rewritten in one sentence. The next few weeks were a blur, a whirlwind, a transformation no movie could ever capture fully. Leadership training. Harry attended CEO coaching sessions. Strategic communication. Financial planning. Decision-making under pressure. Investor relations. Trainers kept saying, "You learn faster than anyone we've ever coached. Where did you get this mind?" Harry would smile softly. He wanted to say, "A janitor sees everything," but he just nodded. White medium star wardrobe evolution. Michael insisted, "You can't run a global company in a janitor's uniform." They took Harry to a luxury suit store. Harry picked a simple black suit. The tailor frowned. "No, sir. You're a CEO. You need something that commands respect." For the first time, Harry stood on a platform while a tailor measured him like royalty. Chest, shoulders, arms, waist. "No more hiding your brilliance, Mr. Mark," the tailor said. Harry blinked away tears. He had never worn a suit worth more than his monthly salary. The first time he saw himself, when the suit was ready, Harry stepped into the mirror. He froze. He didn't look like a janitor, not like a cleaner, not like the man people mocked. He looked like a leader, a force, a man carved by pain but refined by destiny. He whispered, "This is me?" Michael smiled beside him. "No, Harry, this is who you always were." The world just didn't see it. In the 4th week, Michael released a press statement, introducing Mark Intelligence Systems, founded by visionary coder Harry Mark. The internet exploded. Headline after headline. Unknown janitor builds game-changing AI. The hidden genius emerges. Meet the self-taught developer disrupting global logistics. From mopped to millions, the Harry Mark story. Tech reporters begged for interviews. Investors asked for meetings. Industry experts called him the new Einstein of logistics. And Harry, he stood in the middle of all the noise, stunned by the world finally noticing his light. For so long, he begged people to listen. Now they couldn't stop talking about him. One evening, Harry was in his new office, all glass, modern, overlooking an entire city. When his phone lit up, his sister was calling. He answered. She was crying. "H. Harry, you're on TV." He turned on the screen. There he was, standing next to Michael, speaking at a tech summit, standing tall in his black CEO suit, confident, brilliant, fearless. His sister sobbed. "I'm so proud of you. I can't believe it. Everyone is talking about you." Harry sat down slowly. He remembered the hospital bills, the nights she cried in pain, the years he felt powerless. Now, he could give her everything. "Don't cry," Harry whispered. "We're okay now. We're finally okay." They cried together, not from sadness, but from victory. Dubai, London, Silicon Valley, Singapore. Every major investor wanted a piece of Harry's company. He sat in private meetings with men, wearing watches worth more than his old salary. He presented his system, confident, sharp, articulate. Investors were stunned. One said, "Where have you been hiding?" Harry smiled slightly. "Cleaning your offices." The room went silent. His story was unbelievable, inspirational, unstoppable. He wasn't just a CEO. He was a phenomenon. On a Monday morning, while Harry was reviewing a new integration plan, Michael walked into his office holding a folder. "Harry, sit down." Harry frowned. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," Michael said. "Everything is unbelievable." He placed a folder on Harry's desk. "Tech Valuations Global. Just publish your official net worth." Harry hesitated before opening it. He didn't expect much. Maybe tens of millions. Maybe a little more. He opened the folder. His heart stopped. His breath caught. His eyes widened. In bold print, Harry marked, net worth, $2.4 billion. He felt dizzy, lightheaded, like the world tilted under his feet. 2.4 billion. Billion. The janitor. The man mocked for his shoes. The man humiliated in a lobby. The man who ate cold lunches alone. Worth $2.4 billion. Harry leaned back in his chair, overwhelmed. Michael placed a hand on his shoulder. "You earned every bit of this, Harry." Harry stared at the headline. Net worth, $2.4 billion. But he had no idea. The people who once mocked him were preparing to face him soon, and the runway was waiting. Comment, "He deserves it." If you agree, Harry earned every bit of this rise. The sun had barely risen over Maxwell Business Park when panic hit the building. Executives marched around like ants whose nest had just been kicked open. Phones rang. Messages flew. Doors slammed. Interns ran across the lobby carrying folders they didn't understand. Something big was coming. Something nobody was prepared for. At 6:17 a.m., the head of operations burst into the executive wing, holding a tablet, face drained. He stammered. "We just received a confidential directive from the Aviation Authority." Everyone looked up. A private runway must be cleared immediately. A major billionaire is landing at 3:30 p.m. Silence. Pure silence. Then, what billionaire? Which investor? Why here? Is someone buying company? Are we being audited? Who sent the request? Nobody knew. The document was signed anonymously, but stamped with international priority clearance, meaning whoever was arriving carried real power. Mr. Dalton, the senior manager who once mocked Harry Mark's shoes, strutted across the hallway like he personally owned the air. He yelled at everyone, "Clean these windows. Arrange VIP refreshments. Straighten those lights. And someone give me a mirror. My smile must be perfect." Employees pretended to obey. Interns rolled their eyes when his back turned. Dalton continued practicing his fake royal greeting in the hallway. "Good afternoon, sir." "No, too casual." "Welcome, Your Excellency." "No, too desperate." "Honored to receive you, sir." "Yes, perfect." He turned dramatically, coat swinging behind him. Today was his chance. Today, he could impress someone powerful enough to change his life. He had no idea this visit would destroy everything he built on arrogance. 3 interns gathered beside the lobby fountain. "You think it's a prince? Maybe a sheik?" No. Rumor says tech billionaire. Young. Rich. Insane money. One girl whispered, "What if he's looking for a new headquarters? Imagine he chooses our building." They giggled, starry-eyed. One in turn said, "Bro, I pray the billionaire is handsome. I'll faint." Another replied, "I hope he's generous. I accept credit alert in any currency." They laughed, but there was a shadow behind their words. The same shadow every arrogant person carries. They believe billionaires look a certain way, talk a certain way, dress a certain way, are born a certain way. None of them had ever imagined a billionaire could be someone they once humiliated. Cut to another location. A private luxury jet sat on a gleaming runway under morning sunlight. A pilot saluted sharply. "Ready for departure, Mr. Mark." Harry Mark stepped forward. Gone was the faded janitor uniform. Gone were the worn-out shoes. Gone was the old badge that once defined him. He now wore a sharply tailored charcoal suit. Well-fitted, elegant, handcrafted. A watch worth more than Maxwell's entire IT department. Cufflinks engraved with the initials. HM. He paused at the bottom of the jet stairs. A memory flashed. Mr. Dalton shouting at him, "Clean this entire floor before you embarrass yourself." Another memory. Interns whispering, "His shoes are talking." Another security guard smirking. "People like you don't belong near success." Harry inhaled deeply. He wasn't returning for revenge. He was returning for closure. He was returning to show how far belief can take a man who once had nothing. His assistant approached him. "Sir, your itinerary is confirmed. Maxwell Business Park is expecting the arrival of a major billionaire. They don't know it's you." Harry nodded. Good. He loved that. He loved that nobody was expecting his face. His story. His comeback. Today, the world that mocked him would learn a lesson they would never forget. The private jet interior was royalty. Cream leather seating. Gold accents. Full wine bar. Screens showing global markets. Ambient lighting glowing softly across polished surfaces. Harry settled into his seat. His posture calm. His breathing steady. His aura different. Heavier, stronger. A billionaire's aura. But under that calm surface was emotion. Memories. Pain. Determination. He touched his cufflinks. He touched the seat armrest. He closed his eyes and replayed everything he had survived. Every humiliation. Every rejection. Every night coding alone. Every moment of loneliness. Then he whispered to himself, "They'll see." While Harry's jet soared through the clouds, Maxwell Business Park truly looked like an anthill on fire. Executive assistants organized fresh flowers. Maintenance cleaned windows for the third time. Someone rolled out a red carpet. Catering set up expensive wine and pastries. Security polished badges and practiced rigid posture. Mr. Dalton ran around screaming orders like a panicked rooster. At one point, he yelled, "This billionaire could save our careers. Nobody mess up." Interns aligned in perfect rows. Executives rehearsed greetings. Photographers prepared cameras. Everyone wanted to impress the mysterious billionaire. And ironically, this was the first time they ever cared about treating someone with respect. By 3:20 p.m., the private runway shimmered under the afternoon sun. A helicopter hovered briefly. Security SUVs took positions. Jet fuel trucks moved aside. A red carpet gleamed across the runway, like a strip of destiny. Executives arrived in their best suits. Women in high heels. Men with iron pocket squares. Everyone spraying their most expensive perfume. The air buzzed with tension. Who do you think he is? My makeup must be perfect. If I impress him, he might hire me. He could change everything. Dalton fixed his tie for the 50th time. "This is it," he whispered. "This is my moment." Oh, Dalton! He had no idea his moment was about to turn into his greatest humiliation. At exactly 3:30 p.m., the sky trembled. A powerful jet soared above. White, massive, engine roar echoing like thunder. Interns gasped. Executives straightened. Dalton's eyes widened with greed. The pilot maneuvered the jet with precision. Landing gear out. Wheels kissing the runway. Engines whining down. Wind swirling dust around the red carpet. The jet rolled to a stop. Silence, perfect silence. Fell over the runway. No one breathed. No one blinked. Every soul stared at the jet door, waiting, praying, desperate to see the face of the billionaire. The staircase unfolded. A sudden gush of warm wind swept across the crowd. Flashlights clicked on. Phones lifted. Cameras zoomed. The hatch unlocked. A soft hiss. Then, the door slowly opened. Light spilled out, golden, bright, dramatic. A silhouette appeared. Tall, broad shoulders. Suit sharp as a blade. Watch catching the sunset. Executives leaned forward. Dalton whispered breathlessly. "Who is he?" Interns clutched their phones. Cameras flashed wildly, but the billionaire's face remained hidden in shadow. Just a silhouette. Just power. Just tension. Two polished shoes stepped out. A hand rested on the railing. A deep voice greeted the ground crew. Everyone froze. Everyone choked on anticipation. Everyone wanted to know. The mysterious billionaire took one slow step down the jet stairs, his face still hidden. And every person on that runway held their breath. They were seconds away from the shock of their lives. Guess the billionaire. Type your prediction below. Backhand index pointing down, don't scroll. The wind shifted. The sun dimmed behind the jet's wings. Every breath on a runway seemed to pause as a mysterious billionaire stepped fully into the doorway. Still nothing but a silhouette of power framed by golden light. Executives stood straighter. Interns tried to fix their hair. Mr. Dalton pulled in his stomach and adjusted his tie for the 100th time. Everyone wanted to look worthy. Everyone wanted to be chosen. Everyone wanted this billionaire to see them. Stupidly, none of them realized he already had. A polished shoe touched the staircase. People instinctively applauded, loud, desperate, excited. The billionaire didn't rush, didn't wave, didn't smile. He moved slowly, deliberately, like someone returning to a place that once broke him, but no longer had the power to hurt him. With every step, his suit caught the sunlight, a deep charcoal fabric, tailored perfectly to his frame. His watch gleamed, reflecting beams of light. His cufflinks showed subtle initials. HM. Nobody noticed. Not yet, but the universe did. Halfway down the stairs, the wind changed direction. It hit the billionaire's face, lifting his hair slightly, revealing just enough of his features. A sharp jawline, smooth skin, eyes full of history and steel. Someone in the crowd gasped. Another whispered, "He looks familiar," but they couldn't place him yet. Not here, not dressed like this, not surrounded by so much power. After all, who would ever imagine that the man stepping off a jet worth $62 million was someone they once told to clean faster? The billionaire reached the last step. The crowd leaned forward. Executives tried to look important. Interns tried to capture every angle. And then he stepped onto the red carpet, and the sunlight hit him full in the face. This time, everyone saw him clearly. Harry Mark, the janitor, the man they mocked for his shoes, the man they ignored for years, the man they called invisible, now standing before them as a billionaire returning home. The reaction was instant and violent. A young intern screamed softly, "Oh my God!" Someone dropped their phone. It hit the pavement with a sharp clack. One woman covered her mouth, eyes wide, tears forming. A man whispered, "No, no way, that's Harry." A security guard blinked rapidly, whispering, "This cannot be real." Executives exchanged looks, panic, disbelief, shame. They felt their stomachs punch inwards. Because this wasn't just unexpected. This was impossible. This was cosmic justice. This was karma. In a designer suit with a private jet behind him, Mr. Dalton, the arrogant senior manager, stepped forward instinctively, ready to greet the billionaire. But when Harry's face became fully visible, Dalton froze. It hit him like a collapsing building. His voice cracked. Harry?" Harry's steps remained calm, unhurried, powerful, step after step, heel against pavement, suit shifting with grace, shades in one hand, expression unreadable. He didn't stop walking. didn't blink, didn't acknowledge the applause. He simply approached the man who once humiliated him publicly. Dalton stumbled backward, tripping over his own feet like a drunk man. He gripped his chest. He gripped his tie. His face lost all color. Harry stopped 3 feet from him, tilted his head slightly, looked him dead in the eyes, and in the calmest voice imaginable, he said, "Yes," Harry said softly, but with one correction. Dalton swallowed. Harry continued, "I'm the janitor you humiliated." Dalton's lips trembled. Harry finished, "And the billionaire standing in front of you." The entire runway went silent. Not a whisper, not a breath, not a heartbeat, just shock. The kind you feel in your bones. The kind that rewrites destinies. After that single sentence, Harry didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't wait for acceptance. He walked through them, between the same people who once ignored him, past the same interns who laughed at his uniform, past executives who now bowed their heads in shame, past Mr. Dalton, who looked like his knees might give out. Cameras clicked nonstop. Recordings captured every second. Every step Harry took on that runway felt like thunder, like a revolution, like history rewriting itself in real time. Employees whispered, "Is this real?" That's actually Harry. He came back as a billionaire. From janitor to private jet in 3 months. The shock was nuclear. And Harry? He didn't smile. He didn't smirk. He simply walked like the man he had become. A king returning to the empire that once threw him out. Harry turned once more. Looked directly at Mr. Dalton. One final sentence, delivered with calm fire. "You should have treated everyone with respect." Dalton trembled. Then Harry added, "And today we finish this." Cut to black. If you just got chills, type he's back in the comments. Don't blink. The runway was silent. Not the kind of silence that comes from respect, but the kind that comes when an entire crowd realizes they've been living in the wrong story. Harry stood in front of them, tall, calm, and completely transformed. The same man they once mocked for scuffed shoes now stood in a suit that cost more than Dalton's entire monthly salary. And yet the suit wasn't the shocking part. It was his presence, an unshakable confidence carved from years of being overlooked. Harry glanced around. Dozens of faces trembled, some in guilt, some in awe, some in the raw shock of seeing Karma step off a private jet. He took a slow breath, and then began. Harry's voice was steady, not angry, not vengeful, just honest. "I want to tell you all something," he began, hands resting calmly at his sides. Employees leaned in subconsciously. The jet engine hummed softly in the distance. A breeze swept across the runway, carrying his words like they were meant for the whole world. "I did not come back for revenge." Gasps, whispers. Even Dalton blinked in confusion. Harry continued, "I came back to show you what belief looks like." A few interns lowered their eyes. Executives shifted uncomfortably. Someone wiped their face quickly, pretending it was just the wind. Harry took another few steps forward, speaking not like a billionaire addressing a crowd, but like a man who survived a storm and learned to love the rain. "For years, I walked these halls invisible. I heard the comments, the laughter, the whispers. I watched people judge me by my uniform, my shoes, my paycheck." A flash of painful memory flickered in his eyes. "But every night after my shift, while this building slept, I built something. Something powerful. Something the world was too blind to see." He looked directly at the interns who once filmed him sweeping for TikTok clout. And it wasn't blindness because the idea was bad. It was blindness because the idea came from a janitor. An older receptionist pressed a hand over her chest. Her eyes glistened. As Harry spoke, the story replayed in the minds of everyone watching. Harry eating cold lunches alone, his cheap shoes squeaking on marble floors, Dalton barking orders, the intern snickering, rejection emails piling in, Harry fixing Michael's tire in kindness, his tiny apartment glowing with laptop light, tears, exhaustion, but relentless dedication, that first $1 million notification, his sister smiling in a hospital bed, his first tailored suit, the private jet he never imagined he'd fly in, the runway he now stood on, The crowd that once ignored him now completely captivated. Tears began to fall across the gathering. One in turn covered her face in shame. Another shook her head slowly, whispering, "We were so wrong." The rumble of a luxury car signaled a new presence. The door opened. Michael Trent, billionaire titan, founder of Trent Global Logistics, and the man who believed in Harry when no one else did, stepped onto the runway. He didn't say a word. He simply walked up and stood behind Harry, like a mentor, like a guardian, like someone silently telling the world, "This man is extraordinary, and I stand with him." The crowd's reaction shifted instantly. The interns trembled. Executives nearly bowed. Dalton's jaw shook. Harry didn't even turn. He knew Michael was there. His voice grew stronger. This journey wasn't about proving I was smart. It wasn't about proving I deserved a chance. It was about proving that success does not ask where you come from. It only asks how far you're willing to go. For the first time, even the most arrogant executives felt their arrogance melt into dust. Dalton suddenly stepped forward, his face red, his hands shaking, his voice cracking like a cracked window in a storm. "Harry," he whispered. "Harry, I was wrong." The crowd froze. Dalton's lips trembled violently. "I was wrong about you about everything," he admitted, barely able to stand. "I shouldn't have treated you like that. I shouldn't have." His sentence broke into silence. Dalton, the man who once believed he was untouchable, collapsed emotionally in front of everyone. His pride shattered, his ego gone, his eyes filled with the painful realization that he had mocked a king without knowing. A heavy silence fell. Harry didn't smirk, didn't boast, didn't humiliate him back. He just watched quietly, his eyes calm, like someone who had outgrown the need to prove anything to anyone. And that silence, that grace, hurt Dalton more than any revenge ever could. Tears streamed down Dalton's face as he whispered, "I'm sorry, Harry, truly sorry." The crowd swallowed hard. This wasn't revenge. This was redemption. And Harry handled it with the strength of a man who had nothing left to prove. Harry took one step toward Dalton. Just one. Dalton's breath hitched. Harry opened his mouth to speak, and the screen cuts. Comment respect. If Harry handled this moment with class. On's eyes filled instantly. Harry turned to the HR director. "Provide Mr. Dalton with a proper severance, career counseling, and an exit with dignity." Dalton's lip trembled. "Harry, I don't deserve." "You don't," Harry replied calmly. "But healing doesn't start with what you deserve. It starts with what's needed." Dalton lowered his head and cried silently. The interns stared at Harry, stunned, their concept of power shattered. After the meeting, Harry walked the entire floor, not as a billionaire, not as a legend, as the man who once cleaned those same floors. Employees peeked from cubicles. Some stood, some clapped, some whispered. "He's nothing like the others." Harry entered the HR wing and requested something bold. "I want to launch a scholarship program," he told the director. "For who?" she asked. "For employees who grew up like me," Harry said. "The ones people overlook, the ones nobody believes in." He laid down the terms. Tuition coverage, mentorships, laptop grants, paid training, career pipeline programs, a blueprint for changing lives. The HR director stared in awe. "You're going to change this entire company." Harry smiled faintly. "That's the goal." On his way to the elevator, Harry heard hurried footsteps behind him. He turned. The 3 interns stood there, the same ones who mocked his shoes months earlier. Their eyes were trembling with guilt. "Mr. Mark," the first whispered, voice cracking, "we owe you an apology." The second stepped forward, holding back tears. "We treated you horribly." The third wiped her face. "You didn't deserve any of it." Harry looked at them for a long moment. Then he smiled gently. "I forgive you." All 3 broke down at once. He placed a hand on the shoulder of the youngest intern. "I'm not here to make you feel small," Harry said. "I'm here to show you how big you can grow." The intern burst into tears. Harry walked toward the elevator. leaving behind 3 interns who would never forget how kindness feels when they expect punishment. Later that evening, Harry returned to the same janitor closet he once worked from. It hadn't changed. The wooden shelves, the old mop, the faint smell of cleaning supplies. He stood there silently, letting the weight of memories settle. Then he whispered to the empty room, "Thank you for getting me through the darkest nights." He wasn't talking to the sun had barely risen over Maxwell Business Park when the rumor spread like wildfire. Harry Mark, the billionaire, bought one of the company divisions. Executives whispered nervously. Interns peeked around corners. Dalton barely slept all night. Something was shifting in the building. Something deeper than money or status. Something like a cleansing. Something like justice arriving in a 3-piece suit. Harry stepped into the glass conference room with Michael Trent beside him. A hush fell. Screens displayed a shocking memo. Effective today, Mark Intelligence Systems acquires Maxwell Supply Analytics Division. Gasps. Chairs squeaked. Mouths opened. Harry walked calmly to the head of the table. The same room where he once entered only to empty trash bins. "Now," he ordered the room. "We're not here to punish anyone," Harry began, scanning every face, "but to build something new." Executives shifted uncomfortably. Dalton, seated near the end, slowly lifted his eyes, terrified, ashamed, waiting for the hammer to drop. But Harry surprised everyone. "I've reviewed this division," he said. "Leadership has been poor. Morale is worse. Innovation? Non-existent. Silence. And because of that," Harry continued gently, "I've decided this division needs new direction." His gaze turned toward Dalton. The man swallowed. "Mr. Dalton," Harry said softly, "your role will be dissolved." An audible gasp swept the room. Dalton felt the blood leave his face. But Harry lifted a hand. No humiliation. No spectacle. No revenge. Dalton blinked, confused. Harry continued, "You made mistakes, but today I'm giving you something nobody ever gave me." A pause. Grace. A wave of emotion crashed through the room. Dalton, he was talking to his younger self. The man who kept going despite humiliation. The man who believed even when no one listened. The man who refused to quit. Harry closed his eyes and breathed deeply. "Look where we are now," he whispered. Michael Trent found Harry later that night in the rooftop lounge, overlooking the city. "You've done more in a day than most men do in a lifetime," Michael said. Harry exhaled softly. "I'm just getting started." Michael smiled. "What's next?" Harry stepped forward, watching the lights flicker across the skyline. "I want to build something," he said. "Something bigger than a company. Something timeless." Michael raised a brow. "What kind of something?" Harry turned to him. "A global mentorship platform. For people like me. People who are underestimated. People who are ignored. People who need just one person to say, 'I believe in you.'" Michael nodded, deeply moved. "It's the mission you were born for." Harry didn't disagree. Harry looked out over the city. The same city that once treated him like a ghost. Now, he owned part of its skyline. He turned to Michael with a slow, confident smile. "Michael," he said quietly, "I know exactly what my next mission is." Michael waited. Harry's eyes sharpened with purpose. "Help people like me." The screen would cut to black. If you want part 2 of Harry's empire story, hit subscribe. The building was empty. Night wrapped Maxwell Business Park in a quiet stillness. The same stillness Harry had once cleaned, swept, and mopped under. Only now, he walked through it differently. Not with his head down. Not with weight on his shoulders. Not as a shadow people ignored. He walked with presence. With power. With purpose. Tonight was not a business night. Not a billionaire night. Not a CEO night. Tonight was a goodbye. Harry walked slowly toward the janitor wing, a place no billionaire had any business going. But this wasn't about business. This was about closure. He reached the tiny door. The same door that stuck at the hinges. The same door he walked through countless nights with aching feet and a sinking heart. He pushed it open. The janitor closet greeted him with the same old scent, bleach, metal, and memories. The mop leaned where it always leaned. The shelves held the same dusty bottles. And on the wall, his uniform, faded, wrinkled, torn at the sleeve, a uniform that carried humiliation and laughter and long nights and quiet tears. Harry reached out and touched it gently. "I survived you," he whispered. He lifted the uniform from the hook, smoothed the front with both hands, and instead of tossing it aside, he walked to a corner, found a plastic bag, and folded the uniform carefully, like something sacred. Then he hung it back up, not as clothing, as history, as proof, as a monument. Harry stepped back and stared at it for a long moment. Then he whispered, "You carried me when no one believed in me, but I don't need you anymore." He closed the door, slowly, deliberately, like burying an old version of himself. The next morning, Harry picked up his sister from the rehabilitation center. She had always known him as a hard-working brother with calloused hands and tired eyes, but when he arrived in a luxury black SUV, wearing a tailored obsidian suit, her jaw dropped. "Harry, what's happening?" He smiled gently. "Come home with me." Her eyes filled with confusion and hope. They drove out of the city until the skyscrapers faded into horizon lines. Soon, they reached a long private driveway lined with cypress trees. The gates opened automatically. Beyond them stood a breathtaking modern mansion overlooking a lake. Glass, silver, marble, sunlight everywhere. His sister gasped. This is yours." Harry nodded. "It's ours." She covered her mouth with trembling hands. "Harry, how?" He pulled her into a hug. "Because I refused to let the world tell me who I was." Inside, she wandered through the rooms, touching walls, opening cabinets, crying softly. Harry stood by the window, watching her with a mix of joy and disbelief. This was why he fought through humiliation, why he coded until 3 a.m., why he endured mockery and rejection. Because dreams were not for him alone. They were for everyone who needed him. The next day, the headlines exploded across every major platform. From Janitor to Billionaire CEO, the Harry Marks story shocks corporate America, the underdog who outsmarted the system. A symbol of hope, Harry Marks' rise inspires millions. Global investors beg to partner with the invisible genius. Harry watched quietly from his living room. His phone buzzed nonstop. Journalists calling. Business networks requesting interviews. Schools asking him to speak. Communities wanting him as a mentor. He wasn't just a CEO anymore. He had become something else. A symbol. A message. A reminder. That brilliance has no uniform. That greatness has no dress code. That success isn't born from privilege, but from persistence. 3 days later, Harry walked onto the private runway, the same one where executives froze at the sight of him. This time, he wasn't returning as a surprise. He was returning as a promise. Wind brushed against his suit. The jet gleamed under the noon sun. Camera crews watched from a distance. Employees gathered behind glass windows, still stunned every time they saw him. Harry walked slowly toward the aircraft. Every step echoed with memory. Push the cleaning cart. Mop the marble tiles. Ignore the laughter. Endure the mockery. Believe in the unseen. And now, walk as a billionaire. At the foot of the jet stairs, he paused, took one long breath, and then the wind lifted his coat slightly, making him look taller, stronger, unstoppable. A voice behind him whispered. He used to mop the floors. Now he owns the skies. Harry placed one foot on the jet stairs, then another. Then he turned back one last time, eyes locked on the skyline that once rejected him. Narration fades in. They mocked the janitor, but the world crowned the billionaire. Harry gave a small, knowing smile, then stepped into his jet. The door sealed. The engines roared. And the legend took flight. What story should Harry's next journey be? A new company? A global movement? A hidden enemy from his past? Comment your idea and subscribe so you don't miss episode 2.